Comedian Karen Morgan has garnered a YouTube following into the hundreds of thousands with her sketch, Every Generation Explained. She begins with the silent generation, with a cute story of her mother and father-in-law who have been married for 65 years. She says that from them, she learned that apparently, if you've been married that long, you no longer hear the sound of each other's voice. She continues through the boomers and the millennials right to Gen Z, our 20-somethings and teenagers, to which she says, "Good luck, America." Gen Z, she says, doesn't know how to write a check. They don't know how to address an envelope. They don't know how to read cursive. They don't know how to read a paper map. All I'm saying, she concludes, is that if Gen Z takes over the world, it's gonna be pretty easy to get it back. We're just gonna write our battle plans in cursive on a piece of paper and mail it to ourselves in envelopes. As I watched her sketch, the famous song from Bye Bye Birdie kept coming up in my head. Kids, what's the matter with kids these days? Which quickly popped the bubble of humor, because there's so much more wrong with, but more importantly, for our kids than that they don't know how to write in cursive or address an envelope. The New York Times ran an article this week. Did you catch it? Gen Z can't afford the rent, with the shocking statistic that young adults from varying backgrounds are devoting between 40 and 85% of their income just to housing expenses. And fully 1/3 of the generation's adults can't make it work. They live with their parents and plan on staying with them for as a long-term housing solution. One mother, Jessica McCabe, went viral for asking what happens when the tried and true just work hard and you'll get ahead is no longer an ironclad formula. I thought, she said, that by teaching them what I learned, which is you work hard, you get a good job, you're gonna get the things in life that you need, right? Worked for me. Why wouldn't it work for them? Because, she concludes, it doesn't. The world has changed. Of course, you might say, no generation has had it easy. Just think back, and as if in dialogue with Jessica McCabe, Karen Morgan points out on her little tour through the generations that she actually skipped over my generation, Gen X, which she follows up by saying, I didn't forget Generation X. You know who forgot Generation X? Here's who forgot Generation X. CBS News. They forgot 65 million of us. Everyone forgets Generation X. But here's, she continues, what you really need to know about us. We don't care. We didn't have helicopter parents. We had the opposite. We had Home Depot parents, where it looks like there should be someone in the store that can help you. But there's not. No one's coming. You're on your own. While it may seem like a nostalgic joke for Gen X that we were forgotten and doing quite fine anyway, thank you very much. For the rising generation, it seems like no matter how much we want to make them feel safe and secure and seen, the world that we inhabit today casts a long shadow of anxiety about what is and what may come to be. System breakdowns that were unimaginable just a few years ago are part and parcel of their everyday life. Between economic strain, social media pressure, the dislocation of the pandemic, global upheaval, extreme weather, ranging from unbearable heat to raging storms, catastrophes like this week's tragic fire in Maui, to all of the regular challenges of just plain growing up, it can feel like this generation is holding more than anyone should carry. As Jessica McCabe put it, before my generation comes at me, yes, I understand that struggling is a part of life. We all struggle, but there's a difference between struggling and drowning. There's something that we struggled with, and it was tough, but we did it. Then she says something so sobering that it stopped me in my tracks. She says, but we knew there was a light at the end of the tunnel with our struggle. Think about that. It is that light that animates hope. It's that light that helps us believe that something that I do today can make a difference towards tomorrow. What happens if the realities that we are facing are causing, perhaps not just in our children and grandchildren, but maybe also in ourselves, a sense of malaise, a distancing from hope? In an era that gives us so many reasons to doubt if tomorrow will be better than today, is there anything that our tradition can offer us? You won't be surprised to hear me say that not only does the Torah give us a guide for times like this, but it does so in this very parsha, right when we need it. And perhaps it does so in the very last place that we would look. At first glance, you wouldn't find very much to be optimistic about a strange progression within our Torah portion of 3 verses about need. Let me lay them out for you. So first begins really up here. Optimistically, there will be no needy among you. Wow, what a promise. And then it progresses to, well, if there will be needy among you. And then that's quickly followed by, there will always be needy among you. What gives? What is that? What's the Torah trying to do to us, trying to say to us from there is not going to be any need to there will always be need? Well, our rabbis look at that and find actually something exceedingly reassuring, because that progression from ideal to real speaks to the world we actually live in, saying to us that when we are face to face with intractable challenge, that's not the time to wring out, that's the time to say, yep, and roll up our sleeves. It's not the time to fix the problem. We can't always fix the problem, but the time to be present, and we can always be present. Indeed, that final verse doesn't conclude, and there shall always be needy in your land. It doesn't end there. It continues with a response to the intransigent struggle. And you shall surely open up your hands. Rabbi David Wolpe points out that even in the original, the needy is not just about economic need. It means more. He brings our sages who say that it means emotional need as well, which means that if we hold out our hands, what is the Torah telling us? It's saying that all of us have the capacity to meet someone else's need. Maybe not all of it, and maybe not always, but presence matters. Our Parsha's name is Re'eh, see. When we cannot solve, but we can see, we can lift each other up. Our adult kids, our teens, our children, all of us are carrying at times a crushing load, and it's there that the light can go out, or it can be met by being seen, by an understanding embrace that yes, there is need, there will always be need. And yes, it is heavy, but yes, we can walk on together. Take my hand. That can make all the difference. Just before Shabbat, I participated in a ritual you don't often see done these days in the liberal Jewish world, a pidyon haben. There are a few reasons that we don't see it all that often. The first is very heartbreaking, which is that the ritual requires a firstborn child that is the first issue of the womb, also born not by C-section. And today, more and more families and couples experience pregnancy loss, making that something that fewer and fewer couples experience as a gift. And even for those who haven't had a loss, the ceremony itself doesn't adapt all that well to our egalitarian age. Only male children are eligible, and a Kohen must be found. Moreover, the ritual is predicated on the idea that were we not to do the ceremony, a son might otherwise be conscripted to serve in the Holy Temple. Given that it was destroyed in 70 CE, modern parents just aren't that concerned. So, in our liberal Jewish world, it's a relatively rare sight. But yesterday, one of our members, a descendant of the Kohanim, took upon himself that sacred, ancient role for a brand new family of new parents and new grandparents and a long-awaited child. Placing his hands above the new baby's head, he chanted the words which have echoed through thousands of years. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. From one generation to another, a blessing that whatever you need, whatever may come, I see you. We see you. You are not alone. Suddenly, in his words, every generation was explained. We are connected to each other by the eternal truth and the eternal prayer. Generation to generation, we rise again. May we rise to meet the challenges of our moment with the hope that is found in seeing our generations and extending our hands to each other to meet those challenges together. Shabbat Shalom.